stand here and give them a voice. We are seeing a rise in far-right attacks on our streets and in our schools. We are seeing a rise of right-wing, nationalist, anti-migrant tendencies across Europe, from Viktor Orban's Hungary to Salvini's Italy to the neoliberal European Renaissance pushed by Emmanuel Macron. Conference, I put it to you that our response to this should not be to close the door behind us and leave them to it, but to use the weight of this Labour Party, led by Jeremy Corbyn, the largest political party in Europe, and campaign for our socialist vision within the EU. We will not let the Liberal Democrats, who have just welcomed a poisonous Tory homophobe into their party, claim to be that voice against the right. Conference, we must campaign to remain in the EU and transform it from within. And a united party policy is the same policy in Wales, in Scotland, in Northern Ireland and in England. We cannot have socialism without international solidarity. Many of the delegates on this floor are rightly opposed to the EU's brutal treatment of migrants and refugees. Leaving the EU will not help those migrants. We must dismantle Fortress Europe from within. I urge Conference to support Composite 13, so we have a socialist Labour Party committed to remaining in the EU. I want to see Jeremy Corbyn in number 10, a socialist Labour Party in government, and campaigning to remain is the way to do it, and the only way to do it. Solidarity.
Points of order, I think, or one.
Slade, CLP. Chair, I appreciate you have an extremely difficult job. It's a very heated debate. But it feels both, the selection of speakers feels both too random and not random enough. In terms of being random, not random enough, can I suggest that it should be a block? You know which blocks are where. Say the H block is asked to put up their hands, then F, then E, and each block gets a turn to have one person selected. Secondly, can I say that with the system right now,
Delegate, can I just? It isn't a point of order. I think we've heard what you've got to say. I think we've known. I think we've known for a number of years that we need to do something different. I'm more than happy for you to send those comments in so that we can try and deal with that through CAC. Okay?
But
Thank you.
Can I make a different point?
I think if we continue, I won't be able to take any further speakers.
30
so the
seconds.
decisions.
Why are we not being asked to speak on specific motions or composites? Because actually we're not getting a balanced debate, because too many people from one debate are accidentally being asked. Why is this not happening?
The timetable is a matter for the CAC. If I tell you, if I dare, I have absolute sympathy with what you're saying. We do need to do this differently. We're coming to the end of this debate. We can't do it today, but I will make a commitment to you and others that we will try and do this differently at the next party conference, because it can't go on like this. Next point of order.
Salma Ahmed from Harwich, North Essex. I spoke yesterday and I was told I could not speak today. I've been waiting because I'm passionate about Brexit just like you are. But somebody spoke yesterday and they were allowed again, and that is not right. We need some consistency. And if you talk about Brexit, all I will say, support motion 14 if you want Jeremy Corbyn in that house. Support him. He needs our support. Don't make a laughing stock of Labour Party. We don't need that. We need to be united. Thank you.
Delegate, that wasn't a point of order. can I just say to you that delegates are allowed to move reference back and make contributions in the motions. So that might be why you've seen two people speaking. It is supposed to be flagged with that, so if that happened, it's been an error, but people can speak twice with references back and into motions. So, sorry, the next speaker.
Hello, delegates, dear comrades. I proposed my own motion. I'm the only delegate from my CLP, therefore I was the only person able to do that. But we also were involved in the Brexit composite and submitted the Brexit motion as our non-emergency motion. And as I'm the only delegate from my CLP, I'm again the only person that can represent my CLP and my group's views on that. So that is my reference. Thanks for the solidarity, team. Comrades, siblings, brothers and sisters, I am a proud socialist. I'm a proud member of Unite. I proudly campaigned to get Jeremy Corbyn to be Labour leader the first time. I voted for him the second time, and if there was a vote tomorrow, I would vote for him again. And that is why we need him in government. We need him in government because of the austerity that is killing people, because of the hostile environment, and because the whole range of issues that this incredible radical conference has dealt with today. But conference, we are not going to get Jeremy Corbyn into number 10 if we continue to have this fudged Brexit policy. I hear conference, I was one of you. If I'm honest, when I came to conference 3 days ago, I did not believe in a second referendum. I did not believe in a confirmatory vote. I do not like the EU, if I'm honest. I'm with the 7 out of 10, 4 out of 10, maybe like a 1.5. I see that it's been used for neoliberal ideals, but at the same time, we have the strongest bloc of socialists that we have ever had in the EU. And we are hemorrhaging votes in key seats. In Barnet, where I am a diversity officer, we hemorrhaged votes. We went from having a Lib Dem party who nearly lost their deposit in 2017 to them taking the highest proportion in 2018 with 28.5% of the votes. That is unacceptable, and if we are going to get Jeremy Corbyn and this radical policy into number 10, we need a definitive motion. Conference.
I ask you to wind up, please.
It is not a majority motion. It is not a solidarity motion if we are only speaking in the words...
Can I ask you to wind up, please?
If we are only speaking in England, and how are we going to help the migrants in the sea if we leave them in the hands of the neoliberals? Thank you.
Thank you. Conference, can I ask everybody to sit down? I'm going to be in the bad books yet again. We haven't got any time to take any further speakers. I know that will disappoint everyone. We can still feed into the policy seminars. We've got policy motions tomorrow. We have had 2.25 hours of delegates making contributions. I'm not sure how many we've had, but we've had lots of people. We've tried to cover the diverse nature of our party. So, conference, I'm really sorry we can't take any more speakers. And I've made the decision. We have to move on. We have to deal with the next speakers. We've made a commitment to look at what we do next time. I can't really do anything else today. So, conference, thank you. Can I now call on our Shadow Brexit Secretary, Keir Starmer, to address conference?
Thank you. Thank you, conference. And can I start with a thank you, a huge thank you to all of you, all of our delegates, our members, our trade unions, and the whole Labour movement for supporting me and my team this year and the decisions we had to make. Thank you for that. And can I thank my team who've worked hard again this year in the House of Lords and the House of Commons, winning those votes on behalf of Labour. Thank you, members of my team. Conference, what a year it's been. In last year's conference motion, remember that? You gave us a roadmap. You asked us to vote down Theresa May's flawed deal, and we did. 3 times, with a historic victory. You asked us to do everything we could to prevent no deal, and we did. And you asked us to keep a public vote on the table, and we did. But, Conference, we now face a very different set of challenges to last year. Boris Johnson and the most right-wing government in recent history. A Prime Minister with no moral compass, no principles, no regard for the truth. John Major is taking him to court. And David Cameron, of all people, calls him self-serving. I don't believe a word Johnson says, and neither should you. What did he tell us? What did he tell us? He told us that Brexit would be good for the NHS. It won't. He told us that shutting down Parliament had nothing to do with Brexit. It's got everything to do with Brexit. He told us he could unite the country. Nothing could be further from the truth. The truth is this, isn't it? He has never put anyone's interests above his own, and he never will. With Dominic Cummings pulling his strings, he threatens us with a no-deal Brexit. He threatens us with a no-deal Brexit. Well, no deal may not be a problem for Boris Johnson, for Jacob Rees-Mogg and Dominic Raab, but it would be a disaster for working people across this country. Conference, this is not a game that we're playing. A no-deal Brexit will see manufacturing torn apart after the revival, the service sector decimated, chaos and delay at our borders, vital food and medicines will not get through. EU citizens will be left in limbo. And the Good Friday Agreement could be imperilled. The open border in Northern Ireland is not a technical question about how you get people or goods across a line in the road. It's the manifestation of peace. We will never accept Boris Johnson's reckless approach, never. And that's why we were right over the summer to work on a cross-party basis with Jeremy Corbyn bringing together the opposition party leaders to take over Parliament 3 weeks ago and pass a law to prevent a no-deal Brexit on the 31st of October. We used to call Theresa May's government the zombie government, but at least she occasionally won a vote. So far with this Prime Minister, it's Johnson 0, Corbyn 6. And doesn't it tell you everything you need to know about Boris Johnson, that we had to pass a law to prevent him crashing us out the EU without a deal, and that his first instinct is to try and break that law? His first instinct is to try and break that law. No one is above the law. And Prime Minister, if you think we're going to sit idly by whilst you break the law, you've got another thing coming. Mark my words. Whenever we return to Parliament, and the sooner the better, we will be ready. A conference. Despite all that, let's be honest with each other. Preventing no deal is vital, but it isn't an end in itself. It's an insurance policy. It won't break the deadlock, and the country desperately wants to move on. And we have to find a way forward. We're under a duty to find a way forward. And there's now only one way. Whether in this government or the next, put it to the people. Conference, too much has happened in the last 3 years for this now to be decided without the consent of the public. We need to ask them a basic and vital question. Are you prepared to leave with the best deal that can be secured? Or wouldn't you rather remain in the EU? People must have that final say. A referendum in which Remain should and will be on the ballot paper along with the best leave deal that can be secured. And conference, we owe it to those who want to leave to secure that best leave deal and offer it as an option. But if Remain wins, we will remain a member of the EU, a full member of the EU. Conference. Last year I stood before you and said nobody was ruling out the option of Remain. We've come a long way. An election is coming. We've got a Prime Minister with no mandate, no plan, and no majority. We've beaten the Tories in Parliament, and as and when necessary, we'll beat them again in Parliament. I'm determined about that. But soon we're going to have to beat them at the ballot box. It's a stark choice. If we lose, we risk another wasted decade. A no-deal Brexit. A hard right agenda, stripping away rights and protections and selling off public services. But if we win, Labour can pull this country back from the brink. Labour can end austerity, rebuild our public services, invest in our communities. The stakes could hardly be higher. And so I can tell you today, an incoming Labour government will legislate for a referendum immediately on taking power and hold that referendum within 6 months. That is our commitment. And I have a simple message. If you want a referendum, vote Labour. If you want a final say on Brexit, vote Labour. If you want to fight for Remain, vote Labour. Conference, you know where I stand on the question of Remain. I've said many times that I will campaign for Remain. But let me be very clear, I respect all of those who argue the other way. And Conference, let us go into this crucial period of our history with our eyes open. We campaigned in 2016 for Remain because of our values. Because of our values. We are internationalists. We stand in solidarity with our friends and neighbours in Europe. We profoundly believe in peace, in reconciliation, in human rights and collaboration across borders. And we will never put peace in Northern Ireland in jeopardy. Conference, those are our values, socialist values then and now, and let them guide us through this next period of history. But Conference, we didn't just campaign to Remain, we campaigned to Remain and reform. Remain and reform. And the Labour Party cannot and should not just defend the status quo in Europe or at home. We have to make the case for radical reform. We're the largest socialist party in Europe. It's our duty to lead. Let us bring our sister parties together across Europe and host an international conference to forge our shared plan for a social Europe, with the UK at the heart, not sitting on the sidelines, leading, not pleading. But Conference, we also need to recognise that Brexit is deeper and bigger than the simple question of our relationship with the EU. And we will never get past Brexit if we don't understand why, in 2016, millions of people said they wanted change. They didn't just speak, they shouted. They told us that the political and economic system was not working. And they were right about that. The status quo is bust. We see inequality and injustice everywhere. We desperately need a fundamental shift in power, in wealth, and in opportunity. That is why our 2017 manifesto was so popular, and we must build on it. Only Labour can end child poverty. Only Labour can confront the moral disgrace of homelessness. Only Labour can transform our economy, end insecure work, raise wages and create good jobs across the country. Only Labour will invest and rebuild our NHS and public services. And only a Labour government will tackle the climate emergency so that we can look the next generation in the eye and say, we did not let you down. The conference, the Tories have failed. They have wrecked our economy. They've wrecked our public services. They've wrecked our welfare state. And now they're wrecking our international reputation. Their time is up. We have to beat them, and we will. We have to defeat Johnson, and we will. We have to defeat his politics and show that decency can triumph. We have to deliver a radical Labour government and give people the final say on whether to remain in the EU. Let's get on with it. Thank you, conference. Thank you, conference. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Keir. Conference, we will now take the votes. Ooh. I'm just going to explain how we're going to do this. We will take these votes, at least initially, as a show of hands. Sorry? Yes. Yeah. Oh, it's not in?